Duke Eclipse presents the Horror Hideout Podcast, a podcast covering everything horror, including books, comics, and movies. Presented by Dawson Duke and Kayla Bullock. So this is episode 15, and today we are covering Trick or Treat Sam's 10th Anniversary Collection, which is just a graphic novel version of two comic series in one. It is both the original Trick or Treat series that came out in 2009 from, was it Legendary?
Yeah.
No, Legendary is the new company. The one that came out in 2009 was Wildstorm Productions, and the second series was Trick or Treat Days of the Dead, which came out through Legendary Comics in 2015. I have some notes on some of the artists and colorists.
So we're just going to throw this out there. The first four stories are the stories that we talked about in our last video from the movie. So as far as storyline goes, we're not going to get into detail on the stories. If you're interested in the stories, go back and check out our last video about the movie. We just don't want to have to rehash all that again. But we do want to talk about some of the artists, and some of the artwork in here.
So our first story, let me look. So our first story was drawn by Mike Huddleston, who I know from working on some Deathstroke comics, but he's worked on some other stuff too. And then our colorist for our first, what's called Chapter 1, is Jim Charalampidis. Is that how you'd say that? Charalampidis?
Charalampidis.
And he has done a lot of work for both DC and Marvel. A lot of the colorists I did not write specific examples for because they have just done that much. But he has done a lot of work for DC and Marvel both.
So let me ask a stupid question.
It's not stupid.
So what's his art? I know what art means. But does color just mean they went back in and filled in the colors?
Yes.
Huh.
So the first, and sometimes you'll even have, pencils, inks, and then colorist. So pencils does it first, and then inks goes in, and then colorist goes through. And so you'll actually hear people complain sometimes because they'll be like, I love this guy on pencils, but I hate when he works with this guy that does inks because his inks overshadow the pencils and blotch everything out. Or I hate when this colorist is paired with this guy because he uses colors that don't match the art style and stuff like that.
But yes. So if it says art by, does that mean that they did both? So if it doesn't say colors, it was just one person involved?
Yes.
Interesting.
But I think nowadays comics they're not really hand-drawn anymore for the most part unless it's like indie. So I think there's not really a need for pencil versus in ink anymore. They just kind of became one thing.
That's true.
So that's that one. The second story is drawn by Grant Bond. I didn't write down anything he worked on because I didn't recognize anything he worked on, but he has worked on some other stuff. It was just not anything that I had ever read. I tried to use examples of stuff that I specifically had read, and he did not have a colorist, so he did the color himself.
Okay.
I did like his art style for the story. I think I liked most of the art styles in here. The next guy we had, again, does not have a colorist listed, so presumably he did the coloring too. And it's Christopher Gugliotti. I'm assuming that's how you say it. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I don't like the art style. It's not...
It doesn't fit the story?
It does not fit the story. It doesn't... I'm not insulting the artist. I'm not insulting what they do. I couldn't do this. But I don't think it is cohesive with everything else that's going on in the story. I don't know. Like, the faces don't have enough features. They don't...
It's a very cartoony style. And it feels like something that would be great in more of a fairy tale story. Like, I could see it being used for art in like I could see his art being good in like a Alice in Wonderland or like some kind of fairy tale story for children, just because like the dresses and stuff he draws are really good, but I just don't feel like it fits a horror setting.
And it, like, their faces are just, I mean, if you look at page 59, where it's got the three girls, their faces just do not look.
And
Snow White
I'll throw that picture up in the video.
Snow White is fine, but the Cinderella and Little Bo Peep, their faces are just, their smiles are weird. I don't like the way he does eyes.
And the thing I had written down for him that he has worked on is he was the artist on so when DC first got the rights to He-Man again, because they had it in the 80s and they didn't get it again until I think 2012 or 2011. Whenever they got them again, they did I think it was 6 issues, and it was online only. It was an online comic series they did, and he did issue 6, which was focused on Orko. And again, I did not vibe with it. It just wasn't my thing. He just has it's a very cartoony art style, and it's very, I don't know the word, because I want to say specialized, but that's not the right term. There's like a term for it. But, I feel like it could work. I just don't feel like it works in this story.
I don't, and I agree. And which if you listen to our last video, we talked about the werewolf transformation in the movie, and that's what this story is the werewolf story. But the transformation scenes are so disappointing in the book. It's not my favorite art style. And I'm not saying that it's not some people's favorite art style. It's just not for me.
And then, so our next one, and I'm gonna say this here too. Our next chapter 4 was done by Fiona Staples, and she also did the art for our next story, but she did not color it. So she colored chapter 4, but our next story is the first one in Trick or Treat Days of the Dead, which we'll get more into. But I'm not gonna bring her up again because I've already brought her up now. But she did do the art for the next story, which is called Seed, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But I personally know her for her work on Archie. When they basically restarted and matured the Archie comics for like an older audience in 2015, she wrote the first 3 issues, or not wrote, she illustrated the first 3 issues, so that's what I know her from. And you can take Wikipedia with a grain of salt, but according to Wikipedia, she had a hand in making it more adult.
So one thing I thought was kind of cool in the 4th chapter of the original series is
and I will say I really like her art style. I think it's perfect for a horror book. Anyway.
I do too, and I really like the colors. It just fits. But
yeah,
it's kind of cool, the page where Krieg is flipping through channels. We've got the parade, we've got Night of the Living Dead, Charlie Brown, and then a infomercial. So I think that's kind of cool that they got all those in.
Well, and did you see the design they had for Sam's face in the comic versus the movie? Mm-hmm. The one in the book, I almost like better.
Why?
I don't know.
Like maybe without his mask on?
Yeah. I think it kind of reminds me of like the really ugly version of Jason.
Mm. He looks more like a rotted pumpkin than he does in the movie.
Yeah, I think that's what I like. I think part of my issue with the movie is, like you said, it kind of looks like an alien, and this was last episode. You kind of said it looks like an alien, and I think it's because it's so saturated. Yeah. Like, I feel like his onesie he wears stood out so much that it just felt like it blended in with the head. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
Anyway, I like the design in this book better. But before we move on to the next story, the guy that did the lettering for the first 4 chapters, the first 4 issues, the original series, was Rob Lai, who is a very well-known letterer. He has done a lot for DC specifically. He did a lot of Justice League. I think he worked on Green Lantern. I know he did a lot of Batman stuff. And so he's just... If you're into comics, you probably know who he is. And then it says that the story was written by Mark Andreyko. And again, I'm a big Archie fan, so I specifically know Mark Andreyko because he was a writer on Harley and Ivy Meet Betty and Veronica, where like Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy from DC meet Betty and Veronica from Archie.
Okay, cool. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, I have the hardback of it. So do you have any more thoughts on the first 4 stories in here?
The very last page of the first 4 is an image of the kids from the bus. And I think, to me, that art style and the colors and all of that just sum up this story so well in just this picture.
Too.
So yeah, I love that they did this in book form or comic book, graphic novel, whatever form. But just that one art style is just not for me.
We say it is an adaptation of the movie, and the reason we say it's an adaptation, and like I mentioned that there was a writer for the book separate from the writer for the movie, is because there are subtle differences. I mean, there's nothing major, but there's some differences.
Yeah. But, yeah, so...
But I will say, that bunny mask reminds me of... I can't remember their names, but they're from the Umbrella Academy. They're 2 hitmen that wear, like, cartoon masks all the time. Uh-huh. And they're, like, terrifying. And that's what that bunny mask on that last page reminds me of.
The kid with his brown paper bag on the head and that smile is terrifying.
So is that the last thing you had to say for the first 4? Yep. Okay. So, we're going to move on to the next part.
We know that was really quick over the first 4. If you want to know more about what the stories are, check out last video, because, I mean, they're almost panel for panel what the movie is scene for scene. So... check it out. Now we're going to get into the new part. And the first story is called Seed. I don't know if you have anything about the people involved with it.
The artist for it was Fiona Staples again, which I said.
Right.
She did the art for chapter 4. But I did have written that on this one she got a colorist instead of doing her own coloring. And it's Jose Villarrubia. I don't know if that's how you say it, but and he did coloring for Sweet Tooth, which is pretty well known in horror comic circles, and he has just worked on a ton of Marvel stuff.
So our second part of the story of the second, do you call it series? I keep asking you that. Second
series.
Yeah. Basically is a grandpa.
Okay, let me say this. We are now on the second series, Days of the Dead. This is the series that came out in 2015.
And basically, it starts out, and it's a grandpa out on the front porch with his granddaughter. She's too scared to go trick-or-treating, so he decides to tell her stories. So, the 4 stories in here are stories that he's telling his granddaughter. So the first one takes place in... Dawson, help me out. I know you had that somewhere.
1640
in Ireland. And
it's specifically October 24th, 1640 is when the story starts.
So it's basically about, of course, back then they believed in witches and punishing witches, and so it's about a girl who they think is a witch and a guy who works, I guess, the army or the military, because they call him commander.
I get like a Crusades vibe from them. I mean, I know this isn't like then, but that, you know, that kind of like
well, they say God needs soldiers, so yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a young guy about the girl's age, and he kind of befriends her, and basically wants to save her.
And she's kind of like, you guys are hypocrites because you say we murder people and we don't, and stuff like that. And she like points out the window to where there's severed heads on sticks and stuff
that are basically they think we're witches, and that's...
Yeah. And like he saves her from being drowned because they're like torturing her, trying to get her to admit she's a witch. Which, you know, back in like Salem witch trials, they would hold you underwater. If you drowned, well, you were a person, but you're dead now. But if you didn't drown, you're a witch, so they kill you anyway.
Yeah, I mean, they would tie stones around your feet, and if you got away, you were a witch.
Well, and they'd, you know, crush you with stones.
Right, and if you didn't get away, like Dawson said, if you drown, you weren't a witch, but you're dead anyway, so it was...
Yeah, but, I mean, like, they would put stones on you until it crushed you to
No,
death,
I know,
too.
but I'm talking about the water thing. Like,
yeah.
It was just... And they did that a lot of different ways, where... you get out, you're a witch. If you don't, you're dead, but we don't believe you're a witch anymore. So
But she does say something kind of profound here, and so she's talking to Thomas, the guy, and she grabs his necklace, which has a cross on it, and says, "One man's fairy tale is another man's religion."
which is because she shows him a seed and is talking about magic in this seed.
Yeah, and she basically admits to him she is a witch, but she's like, "I'm not a bad witch."
Right. And so then again, they're torturing her, they're beating her. Thomas takes care of her.
And then Thomas starts to get sick.
Right. And they think that she poisoned him.
Yes. And we see her, the way she escapes is she, like, grows the seed into a pumpkin and uses the vines to pick the lock. Mm-hmm. And then she goes to Thomas, and she heals him. But the way she heals him is we see her kiss him, and then vines start growing out of him.
Yeah. It's kind of creepy.
Yeah. And, but she ends up saving his life. But they burst in and assume she's there to kill him. That she's trying to finish him off. So they take her to be executed.
Right. And all she's doing is begging him to keep that seed safe.
She wants to get it to the New World, aka America. So he ends up saving her. Do you think, did he free the other witches? Is that the implication?
That's how I read it.
Okay. So he frees the other witches so that they'll be distracted going after them.
But we're now on October 31st.
So anyway, he has a horse waiting, and she's like, "Oh, what about my seed?" And he pulls out a bag, and he has the pumpkin with him. So they get on the horse, but then as they're going in the woods, an arrow flies into the horse's neck.
Yeah.
So and their followers are on horseback, so they know they're going to catch up to them. So he draws his sword, gives her the pumpkin, and is going to try to hold them off, but then she refuses to go and just stands there and holds his hand. So they end up getting burned at the stake. And while this is happening, we see Sam in the background.
Mm-hmm. And she tells Thomas, "Fear not, for our prayers have been heard, and this is only the beginning of our journey together."
Yeah. And he's holding, one of the guys that's burning them is holding the pumpkin. And we don't really see it happen, but he must throw it on the ground or bust it open. Because we then later see two kids with a woman, and they pick up some of the seeds and bring them to the New World. So do you think the implication there is that that's them, like, reborn?
I didn't get that.
But then
I didn't get that just because they're with a woman, so it's not like they came out of nowhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But then the last 2 pages are, it's like a 2-page spread that's them as ghosts in front of the moon, which has Sam's face on it.
And I like this story, and I think the artwork is beautiful. I think the coloring is wonderful. Of course, I don't like that the horse got shot, but
do you see the Bluetooth symbols tattooed on her arm?
No. Why?
Because it's an old, like, ruin.
Huh.
Rune.
I did not know that. I will admit I was a little confused when I first read this one because I couldn't really figure out what all this had to do with Trick or Treat. But as we get farther into the other stories, it all starts to make sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I don't know enough about history in other countries to know how witch trials were in Ireland, how in different countries how they handled it. I know how it was handled over here wasn't very good, but so I don't really have an opinion on that part, but I think it's beautifully illustrated. And the time we do see Sam, it's just kind of his shadow, which I think is kind of cool.
And I like, well, I'll talk about that later because I don't want to spoil later stuff. But I like what they do with Sam's character in these stories, and I like the flashing back in time to different periods and stuff. Yeah. So our next story is Corn Maiden, and before we get into it, the artist for it was Stephen Byrne, who I know personally. not actually personally in real life, but I know from Justice League Power Rangers, the crossover.
Oh, okay.
If you guys can't tell, I really like crossover stuff. I think it's cool. I also have the hardback of that. But his colorist was Guy Major, who worked on quite a bit of Buffy, and he's also just done a bunch of work for DC and Marvel. But Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the comic series. So our next story, like I said, it's called Corn Maiden, and it takes place in Illinois, and it starts on October 29th, 1853. And it starts with someone reading Sleepy Hollow, and we then learn her name is Sarah. Do you want to talk more?
I talked a lot on the last one.
I know, but I like just interjecting with things.
So basically, Sarah lives with her father and the camp of men who are building a railroad.
I like stories 3 and 4 the best, so I want to talk about them.
You can talk about 3 all you want to, because I don't like that one. So she basically lives in this camp with her dad and then all the other guys working on the railroad, and a scout comes in and tells him that that he needs to come see this, and there's a Native American camp, I guess. Band, right where they want to build the railroad. So he goes down there to try to talk some sense into the Native Americans and see if they'll move a couple miles away. And while he's there, Sarah sees what she thinks is her mama, who has passed away. But she comes up on the shaman for the tribe, and she meets, what's her name? Pawani. And the chief of the Native Americans, his name is Wolfjaw, and Pawani is Wolfjaw's daughter. And so they become friends. They talk and they kind of become friends. And Pawani gives Sarah a doll that,
like a little effigy.
It's a corn husk doll, but it's got Sam's head on it.
Yeah.
So then they leave and they go back to the camp, and Sarah's dad is trying to figure out how they're going to get rid of the Indians. The Native Americans. So it's nighttime and she sneaks out. And one thing about the art style in this story is the way they do the coloring between day and night is beautiful. I mean, we start out and it's daytime and it's golden and it's golden hues, and then when they're headed back it's sunset, so it's a red, and then now it's darker blue because it's nighttime, and it's just...
And then when they're around the campfire, it's like almost like a neon pink, but it's not like an overwhelming neon. It's a very stylistic pink.
It's like what you would see really in real life around a campfire. And I think that's why I had a lot of issues with the one art we talked about, because it's not real. And I know it's a comic book, but it you just can't connect with people when they look like that.
Yeah.
You know? So, Sarah sneaks back to... Well, she thinks she sees her mama outside the tent, and so she follows her. And she ends up at the Native American camp.
Yeah, and so Pawani
is how I would say it.
Okay. Takes it as her seeing the autumn spirit, the mother of the corn or whatever.
Maiden.
Corn maiden. Yeah. And the little effigy she gives Sarah is supposed to be of the autumn spirit. That's why I said autumn spirit.
Oh, okay.
So I guess Sam is an autumn spirit.
So they pull her in and they dress her like a Native American, and they give her face paint, and she's talking to Wolfjaw. And Pawani tells him she saw the Corn Maiden. And so then they tell her the story of the Corn Maiden.
And she was murdered by people that came seeking gold.
Yes. And again, as he's telling the story, so he starts out and he's talking about the different trickster spirits, the coyote, the spider, the raven. This page with all the purples and the blues is just beautiful, and it's what you think of when you think of Native American storytelling, like the shapes being formed in the smoke, and it's just beautiful. And then, of course, we go to the Corn Maiden story, and it's golden and beautiful. So, um,
but it is at first. But when the Gold Seekers come, everything turns red,
mm-hmm.
and it's cool because even though that they're lit in like a pink light in like the modern story, this red differentiates itself. Like it doesn't feel like it's the same.
Right.
Like the pink is almost comforting, and this is like anger.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and it's
or like blood.
It's so amazing to me that they can tell so much of the story just through colors. Like you can feel the emotion just through the color of the different panels.
Well, it's like what we talked about in Final Girls, where it just like the color can say so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it can make you feel exactly what you're supposed to feel in a scene. It can just make everything feel so much more. I don't know if that's the right term for a comic, but it makes everything feel so much more cinematic.
Well, unlike Mad God, the
Yeah.
scene in the aquarium or the terrarium.
Yeah.
Oh yay! It's beautiful
Yeah.
and it's happy, and then no, it's not. I mean, but anyway, so Dawson, why don't you talk about the story of the Corn Maiden?
I mean, I feel like I basically said everything that happened. She was murdered by people seeking gold.
And then, so she blessed her people, and where her blood fell,
crops rose.
Right, was good fertile land for the crops.
And so that's why they celebrate the autumn harvest, is to honor her.
Right. And so then Sarah starts talking about her traditions for Halloween. And she talks about carving jack-o'-lanterns, leaving treats out to keep away mischievous spirits, which...
And again, whenever we flash back to her carving jack-o'-lanterns, it's all lit in orange. Like, there's... The color theory used in this story in particular is just amazing.
Uh-huh. And the way they intersperse it, like, this is in the middle of the purples where they're talking around the fire. So it's just neat. And so then the Native Americans, Wolfjaw says, we're going to celebrate your Halloween.
So she's going to come out tomorrow night on Halloween, and they're going to celebrate it.
Right. And she says that her father will be drunk before sundown, so...
Yeah. And then when she gets back to camp, her father's being, what's the right word for it? Uncharacteristically nice.
Yes.
He's, like, very nice to her, and is like, I know you want to go spend time with them for Halloween, just go. And not in a rude way. He's like, I want you to go there. I know you don't want to be around here with all us drunk guys. And even gives her candy to give to them.
Right. I mean, she takes a whole wagon full of stuff. She's got jack-o'-lanterns and apples and candy, and... Which one thing Dawson said was, did they really have that kind of candy back in the 1800s? But I was thinking...
And I don't know.
I was thinking about that. And if you think about Little House, I think they had suckers.
I don't know. And I wasn't saying that in like a... Oh, this is completely inaccurate. I was genuinely asking
that. No,
and
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, I was just... That just crossed my mind, like in Little House.
I just never thought about it. Like, I didn't...
Yeah.
But I mean, rock candy has been around for a long time.
Yeah. And that's a sucker, I guess.
I know.
But, so they actually takes her... So Sarah and Pawani actually take candy to the shaman. And they carve a pumpkin, and the pumpkin looks like Sam. And she says, I carved him to look like the doll you gave me, the great autumn spirit. He's beautiful. And then, again...
Pawani said, the great autumn spirit, he's beautiful. And
then, again, with the color, and I know we've talked about that a lot in this story, but everything goes kind of reddish, purple, pinkish. And all of the Native Americans start coughing up blood.
And... Like, the one panel where they're all throwing up, it reminds me of whenever Charlie's sitting on the porch throwing up after he eats the poison candy.
I never even thought about that.
I think there's a lot of... Like, I know this was written later, like it's a prequel.
Right.
But there's a lot of, almost foreshadowing in this for things that happen later. Or, like, I guess it'd be, like, homages to it, but...
Right.
But, like, because it's in the past, it feels like, oh, that's where that comes from.
I never
like
even thought about that, but you're right.
But,
it's a heartbreaking page.
Yeah. But then we see her pick up the sucker that Pawani had, and it has a little bite taken out of it, and it looks exactly like not exactly, it doesn't have the pumpkin face on there, but the bite is in the exact shape of the lollipop that Sam uses in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have not seen our episode where we talked about the movie, you really need to go back and watch it, because this probably does not make a whole lot of sense without it.
No, not at all. But then she sees Sam's shadow in the cornfield, and then he runs off.
Yes.
So then we go back to her camp where her father's at, and one of the guys working with him's like, "How do you know that Sarah's not going to eat the candy?" And he says, "Sometimes great progress requires great sacrifice." So he was willing to murder his daughter to get the Native Americans out of the way for the railroad.
And then we get like a page of them, and then we switch back to Sarah, and she's following Sam through the cornfield, and she comes across the shaman's dead body, and there, her cauldron is still like steaming, and she picks up like an amulet that the shaman has in her hand, and just says, "Show me," and we see like X's appear in her eyes. And again, we go back to the color. All this is done in like a red, and we see back at the white men's tents. I don't know what to call them.
That's what I would call them.
And they're all very blue, but there's this pink smoke coming in, and as the pink smoke comes in, and everyone's asking what's going on, it turns red. Like everything turns red, and then they start coughing up blood, and like vines and roses start sprouting out of all the men.
I think it's vines and leaves. It's supposed to be pumpkins, I think.
Oh, that makes more sense.
I think it's the pumpkin leaves.
That makes sense. Oh yeah, they're like the top part of the pumpkin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we see Sarah and her dad, and he's like, "Sarah, baby?" And Sarah is standing there with Sam right beside him.
Yes.
And then we see pumpkin vines burst out of her father.
I don't know. I never thought about it. But I guess a onesie could have been a thing back then, because it even has buttons. Like it's not got a zipper.
Yeah.
I never thought about that.
Yeah.
But I think it only has one patch here, so that might just be an artistic decision, but I think it has more in the movie, doesn't it? Because like your Sam has one up by his arm.
Well, maybe he got hurt.
That's what I'm saying. This is 1863.
Yeah. So this part is kind of sad. We see Sarah, and she's walking away holding hands with Sam, and we see the spirits of the Native Americans watching her.
Before that, you said that the dad was like yelling Sarah. He dies too.
Oh,
we see vines and pumpkins.
I said that.
Okay. I was distracted.
But we see the spirits watching her, and then it says, sometimes we see the tents and all these pumpkins, and it says, sometimes great progress requires great sacrifice. No one can stand in the way of destiny. And then we see a pumpkin that has her father's face on it.
Yeah. So they all became pumpkins.
And that's the end of that one. But just the Native Americans standing there watching her,
which is... Again, the faces on the pumpkins kind of reminds me of Tales of Halloween.
Yeah.
Which it's jack-o'-lantern, so it's not like it's like...
Yeah.
But it's just... I just got Tales of Halloween on the mind.
So I'm going to throw this out there. The next story is called Echoes. I'm going to let Dawson do most of the talking about this one, because there's a lot of parts I didn't understand in this one. And I don't like the art style. And I don't like...
You don't like the art style?
The art style is okay. It's not my thing.
It reminds me of Hellblazer.
It's just not my thing. So I'm going to let you do most of the talking on this one.
Okay, well first I want to talk about it's called Echoes, and I want to talk about the, artists on it. So our, main artist, not our colorist, our main artist, though, was Stuart Sager, who worked on some Vampirella. Like I know he worked on Vampirella versus Reanimator.
Oh, okay.
And then he's really big in GI Joe, and he's worked on some Conan stories. Um, and then did this one have a colorist? Yeah. Uh, I think I talked about him at the wrong time. Yeah. So Corn Maiden, I was wrong. Stephen Burns did the art and colors.
Okay.
So he did his own coloring. So all that coloring stuff we were talking about is Stephen Byrne.
Well, he did amazing.
Guy Major that I talked about did this story.
Okay.
I was looking at him wrong. I need to take better, more neat notes. But okay. So this story takes place in Los Angeles, and it starts on October 30th, 1955, and it's almost a noir story.
Let me go back and retract kind of what I said about not liking the art style. It's beautifully done. I wouldn't say that about the story. I don't like the art style. It's just I didn't get the story in this one, I guess.
Like I said, it's kind of like a noir story. So we follow a private eye, and he seems kind of fed up with Halloween at the beginning. He says, "I just don't get it. Dead is dead. Gone is gone. If you can't stare it in the face, it ain't real." And he's kind of thinking all this. It's that hard-boiled detective thing where he has this big inner monologue that goes on for a few pages, and then he gets back to his office, and he runs into a woman who's been waiting for him, and she asks him who he is, and he's like, "Who's asking? Do I owe you money?" and stuff like this, and then finally she's like, "No, I have business," basically. And she asks about his family because there's a picture of them, and he says a drunk driver a few years back.
He's very crass about it.
Yeah.
He says, she says, "Where are they?" He says, "Cemetery, adjoining plots, drunk driver a few years back."
Which brings back the noir thing. That's kind of how private eyes are in noir stories. Have you read many noir stories?
No.
That's kind of how they are. And like, so a woman will walk through the door, and they'll be like, a dame walked in through the door, and I could tell by the way she looked she was trouble.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Like
yeah.
And then it's kind of that stereotype of they don't talk much, and when they do, they're curt. Like they say what they need to say, and they're done. So it's kind of that vibe.
Yeah.
I don't think it's him being rude to be rude. I just think he's like. I use this word all the time. I think I use it every episode, but he's very jaded.
Yeah.
Like he's just kind of done with the world.
Yeah, I can see that.
So he finds out her name is Lillian Kyle, and she's coming to him to find, like I said, he's a private eye, so she's coming to him to find her sister Beth. And when he asks why she didn't go to the cops, she says, "I did. They added her picture to the pile." And that's also a very noir thing.
Right.
That's a very much a noir trope where we went to the police, but they wouldn't do anything, or they said they try their best, but their best isn't good. Stuff like that. Like
they almost have so many cases. That
they almost always go to the police first, and the police can't help. And you asked me about this panel when you were reading. While they're talking, first she talks about like no one else would take on the case, and he's the best PI she knows and stuff. Kind of hyping him up before kind of admitting no one else would take the case. And then we see a panel where it looks like she's burnt and there's like smoke coming off of her. Which you asked me about when you were reading. Yes. And I said, I don't know, you'll have to wait. But
which I'm just throwing this out there, I still don't understand, so
they said there wasn't enough to go on, but I think they're scared. And she explains how Beth was always kind of an outcast, and she would get involved in things she wasn't supposed to get involved with. And he assumes she means like communists because it's that era.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, no, witches. She got involved with a coven of witches, basically.
Did you mention that Beth is her sister?
Yes.
Okay.
So the only thing that she has to go on is something that was written in a book that says The Devil in Sebastian. That's the only thing that she has. So,
well, she has the picture.
yes. Of T.E. Knickerbocker with her sister.
Which is such a noir name.
Yeah, very much. Which I don't think noir stories really usually take place in the 50s. I if I remember correctly, I think they're usually like the 20s.
Probably, maybe.
I feel like. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty
know.
sure.
I don't read enough. But anyway, so he is the head of Knickerbocker Studios.
Yeah, he's like a big famous guy basically. Which is another big trope in these stories is there's always a famous guy involved. So she ends up paying him cash and also gives him like it looks like an owl pin. And I don't think you'll know what I'm talking about, but someone might. It reminds me of the Court of Owls. Do you know what the Court of Owls is?
No.
It was a story in Batman, and basically there was like when Bruce Wayne was a kid, his dad used to tell him stories of the Court of Owls, and it was like a secret society that like overlooked Gotham City and like ran things from the shadows, kind of like the Illuminati, but specifically in Gotham. Well, there's a Batman series where he basically finds out they're real, and they like try to recruit him and like convince him to kill people and stuff. But that's what that pin reminded me of was the Court of Owls. So he goes.
I like this line. He says, "I hit the pavement, but the pavement hit back."
Yeah, and it's very much that crime noir inner monologue type of thing. And like I was telling you the other day, I read that one noir story, and the guy just did not know how to handle it. But this is very, very good. This is what I've come to expect.
Yeah. Like I said, I just don't understand it, but maybe we'll get to where I do.
Well, I hope that maybe me explaining it will help you more.
I want to throw this out there while you're thinking about what you're going to say. I am not a comic book graphic novel reader very often. I struggle with being able to read the words and look at the pictures together, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Kind of make sense. Like I'm used to just reading a book.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a lot of my problem with this story. There's so much action going on in the images that I'm focused too much on the words.
I think this has, at least in the beginning part, has the least interperson dialogue than any of the stories. Like it has a lot of inner monologue, and I feel like that might have thrown you off.
Maybe. Well, I mean, I knew that was inner thoughts, but
I'm not saying you didn't know it was inner thoughts, but I wonder if having that much text all focused on one person put you in more of a I'm reading mindset.
Yeah. I think it has a lot to do with like trying to, because I just want to read. Like I want to.
Yeah.
I want to read everything and then go back and take my time looking at the pictures.
There's some modern comics that do it, but if you go back and read old comics, there is so much narration, like unnecessary narration. Like it could be explained in a picture, but like even like Stan Lee, like when he was in comics and writing comics, there'll be like a whole paragraph, and it's like you could have just shown us the panel. And we could figure out what's going on. Like we don't need all this explanation.
Like Tolkien's taken 3 pages to explain a tree.
Pretty much.
That never comes back into play in the book.
So anyway, so we see him like kind of like Mom said, hitting the streets, and he sees a guy and tackles him, and we don't really see why at first until after he tackles him, but it's because he has the owl necklace on.
So see, this confused me. Who had the owl necklace on? The guy he tackled?
Yes.
Okay.
So it doesn't show it anywhere that I can see in any of the panels, but he dropped the necklace at the bus stop. It fell out of his pocket. And if it kind of... I think that's what this panel right here is showing. Where it's coming out of his jacket.
Okay.
I think that's where it's falling. So this guy picked it up. Gotcha. So anyway, so he tackles him and finds out that this guy knows Beth Kyle. He said she came into the club some nights, used to show me that book and read my fortune. She's always been really good to me. So then he asks about Sebastian, doesn't know anything about it, but does figure out that there's a shop downtown called Marguerite that the like pendant came from. So it's now October 31st. It's on Halloween. Okay, so he goes to the store where the pendant was supposed to come from, and inside is like a creepy old lady and her cat. Um, and the creepy old lady is like, "You're not supposed to be here. You're lost." And he's like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "You're lost in your fear." And then as this is all happening, uh, she's she talks about how it's
Alan.
yeah,
And she tells him, "You will not find them, the girl you seek in the Diablo that has taken her."
and she says many spirits roaming about, playing tricks on the living. Anything can happen. And as this is happening, what was his name? T.A. Knickerbocker.
Well, one thing she does tell him, and because this comes into play a little bit later on, to find them, you must see beyond the veil. And to
Yeah.
see beyond the veil, you must first see within yourself. So then we're back to Knickerbocker.
Yeah, so Knickerbocker comes in the door, is like, "I need help," and then sees the other guy in there, the private eye, and the private eye is like, "Hey, aren't you Knickerbocker, like the famous guy?" And
I love that name.
I know. You know what it reminds me of?
What?
You know that stupid movie Igor that me and Brielle like?
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of a name from that.
Mm.
Because there's like uh Glickenstein
Oh yeah.
and I'm trying to remember the other guy. I know his name because the mayor's like, you know what his family name used to be? It was Picklemaker. They were pickle makers, but I can't remember what like the name he goes by now is.
Gosh.
But anyway, that it feels like a name from that.
Yeah.
But Knickerbocker turns around and starts running out back out the building, probably because he wants to keep whatever's going on a secret. And the private eye guy is like, "Oh, I actually kind of like it when they run. It gives me something to chase." And he gets in his car and knows where the Knickerbocker estate is. So while he's driving there, he's kind of looking at a map of it, and he looks down for a second. When he looks back up, he sees like the ghost of his wife in front of him. And then he sees his son asleep in the back seat.
And see, I didn't understand this part, but go ahead.
He sees a bottle in his hand, and then he crashes his car into a tree.
So did he kill his wife and
Yes.
son?
When he said drunk driver, he was the drunk driver. He crashed into a tree and killed his wife and son.
Okay.
Which, again, that's another crime noir thing. Sometimes they won't have a family, but if they do, they died somehow.
Okay.
So he gets out of the car, and he's, like, stumbling around, and he sees an owl, and it's on a tree outside of the Knickerbocker estate. And he sees lights on, so he's like, "Oh, he must be having a party." And when he goes in, there's all these people in these really strange costumes. I don't even know how to describe them. It's almost like they're very nature inspired. Like this one guy, it almost looks like he has like a stump on his head. You know what I mean? And he's got like red eyes. And they're around what I think is a pumpkin that is carved to look like Sam.
Right.
I think that's a pumpkin, but it almost could be made of like metal or something. But I think that's a stem coming out of it. Either that or it's smoke from a fire that's just curling to look like a stem.
I don't really know.
It's kind of hard to tell from the.
No, I think it's a stem. I think it's a stem.
Okay, then it's probably just a pumpkin. But anyway, there's a bunch of guys in there. And like even one is just wearing like a skull mask. Some of them have hoods. Some of them have horns. Not literally. It's like costumes. But he's looking through the window. The private eye's looking through the window when he gets smacked in the back of the head with a wrench from behind, which is another thing. That's a crime noir trope. They always get smacked in the back of the head and knocked out. And he wakes up, and they've strapped him to like a table.
No, kind of like an altar is what I thought.
Yeah, it's like a stone altar. And one of them has a dagger, and they are assuming, because there is a murder around. I think they mentioned at the beginning of the story, and I should have mentioned it. But there's a murder around, which is what she was talking about when she said you won't find your demon either earlier. Do they call him the Red Devil? What do they call him?
The Red Park Devil.
Yeah. So they're going to stick a knife in him, And he's like, I'm not who you think I am. I'm not the devil. Check my wallet. I'm a private investigator.
Echo Park Devil.
Okay. So they check his wallet, find out he's a PI. He's like, I'm looking for this girl that went missing. So they cut him free.
Which, this part, there's a little bit of kind of like humorous relief because the first card they pull out is for the Boogie Bungalow Gentlemen's Club.
Yeah. And I think it's hard to tell from the art style, but I think that the guy is supposed to be... Yeah, it is, because he says, I run a movie studio, you have a taste for the dramatic. It's supposed to be Knickerbocker. Is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
That's such a stupid name.
It's a real name.
I'm sorry, but that's a stupid name. So, anyway, what they're doing is, the reason they're wearing all the costumes, they are, like, honoring their, what they call their fallen sisters. So, the members of their witch coven, basically, that have been taken.
Did you notice that what he says about celebrating nature, the spirits, the cycle of life and death, kind of almost mirrors what the girl said in the first story?
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it even comes up in the Corn Maiden story a little bit. Not word for word, but kind of along the same lines.
And they're like, we've been praying for the spirits to help us take down this killer, and we think you're the guy that's going to do it. So they're kind of like on his side now. And then, what is his name?
Knickerbocker
is kind of going back and forth with him, and they're talking. And then another member of Knickerbocker's group comes up and says, the choice has already been made by forces much older and wiser than either of us. Look beyond the veil, Mr. Perkins. Look into your fears. Find the devil and avenge your sisters. And then we see we see the pumpkin from before with the top missing, with all kinds of smoke and spirits, what it looks like is spirits coming out of it. And there's a giant Sam looking down at him. And then he finds himself on the ground with a fireman over him, asking if he is okay and if he's been drinking.
I don't understand the giant Sam.
It's him facing his fears.
How is Sam his fear?
I don't know if Sam is directly his fear. We can talk about it later. I don't want to talk about what I think right now. But that happens. He wakes up next to the wreck, and then we see a guy in a Red Devil mask that says, "What did you do, Jake? Hey, your family needs you. Don't run away, Jake. They miss you. It was just a mistake, Jake." So now we'll go back and say, no, I'll talk about the next part. So he starts chasing the one in the red mask, and it's Beth, and she says, "Stop running, Jake. You have to, or the devil will never let them go. Go to your family." So then we kind of see Beth sink into the ground. So you asked what Sam has to do with his fears. I think, first of all, I think they were worshiping Sam. I think the seed has a lot to do with everything that's going on, but I'll get more into it later, after we do the last story.
Okay.
Actually, I think I'm fine to talk about it now, because I don't think the last story affects what I'll say here. What is happening right now is, he is having a vision of when he wrecked before. This is not the same wreck where he just wrecked in front of the house. This is him facing his fear, which was when he wrecked his car.
Okay.
So this is a different wreck than that time. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So the witch lady told him he had to face, or the lady in the shop told him he had to face his fear to find the devil. So then he sees Beth here, and Beth says, "Go to your family." So he goes to the cemetery where his family is buried, and it happens to be at a church called St. Sebastian.
And Beth's note said the devil is in Sebastian.
Yes. So he runs inside, finds a woman tied up, unties her, and then he gets attacked from behind by the Red Devil, but he manages to knock him out with I think it's just a rock on the ground.
or he hits him with a rock that was on the ground, and then he chases after him, and they end up fighting on a rooftop, and the Red Devil. I don't know why I keep calling him the Red Devil.
Echo Park Devil.
The Echo Park Devil is hanging from the Private Eye, which he said his name earlier. I think it was Perkins.
Jake. They keep calling him Jake.
I think his last name is Perkins.
I think so, too.
Anyway, he's hanging from Jake's tie, and he says, "If I die, you die." And Jake thinks, "Fine with me," which, again, is a very Private Eye thing. They always don't care whether they live or die, and they always live anyway. But a group of owls flies in, and the devil ends up falling. And obviously is dead. And it's revealed to be Mayor Sutton, who we heard on a news broadcast earlier in the comic was up for re-election. And so after it's all over, he's doing an interview with the police. And
I'm going to back up for just a second before you get into that. There's a panel after that's revealed that it's the mayor that says, "From Ireland to Salem, we've always been the scapegoats when the power-hungry needed a faceless specter to blame."
Yeah,
so that goes back to
those two stories.
Yeah.
So, basically, the police are like, "Were you drinking last night? Because Elizabeth Lillian Kyle, the woman who hired you, is dead. She's one of the bodies we've recovered from the church, presumably." And they're
basically she didn't have a sister.
Yeah,
Beth
wasn't real. She was an orphan. And so he's like, "Can I have a moment alone with her?" And he says, "Thank you." And then later, when he's walking home, he again thinks, "I can just hear you laughing now. Dead is dead and gone is gone, right, Jake?" Which again ties back into the beginning of the story. And then as he's walking, or I think he's inside maybe? I don't know. It's hard to tell from where he's at. I think he's outside still. I think he's just by a fence. But he sees the ghost of Elizabeth, and he asks her to take care of his family. And we see standing next to Elizabeth is Sam. And that's kind of how it ends.
Okay, so you explained a lot more than what I got out of that story, and I kind of like it better now.
I can see why you were lost. I do feel like it is a bit confusing, but I think, first of all, knowing noir tropes, and I think second of all, just being more into comics, I have gotten more used to that style of storytelling.
Yeah.
But I still feel like a few parts were pretty confusing.
Yeah.
For what was going on. Okay, so this last story is called Monster Mash, and either this one or the one before it, the one we just talked about, is my favorite. I can't really decide.
This artwork in this one is so... They look so realistic.
Yeah.
Like, it's like looking at pictures.
Yeah.
Like photographs. I love it.
So, today, before I even read this, I read Suicide Squad Blaze, and the art style in it reminds me of the last story we did a little bit, not fully. And I kind of prefer that art style for horror stuff.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I just missed a lot.
Yeah.
And I feel like
again,
I feel like in that last one there's so much going on in the background.
Yeah.
And I think
her looking burnt is either, I wonder if his wife burned up in the car crash, and that's what he's seeing, because later when we see her spirit, it almost looks like it's made out of like smoke or fire, or if it's because she's dead.
Yeah. Well, I think that, you know, they say people have different learning styles. I think people have different reading styles. Yeah. And for me, if it's going to be a comic book or a graphic novel, it needs to be like Monster Mash or Corn Maiden, where it's
But you like I Hate Fairyland.
I know. But it's very laid out for me, not... Yeah. There's so much in the background in that last story, and there's...
See, and that's one of my favorite things about a story, is kind of deconstructing it and making inferences.
Yeah.
And so... And I also... I love sitting down and thinking about stories.
And I like that too, but I think my brain processes them different than yours does. because the last one there's so much dark, and like I didn't realize that it was a flashback to him wrecking his car.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that it was...
Which him wrecking his car into the tree when he's looking at the map does actually happen.
Right, but see, I didn't get... Like, I was confused. So,
And I didn't look... Maybe the car is different, so maybe that's supposed to clue you in. But I agree, that is probably the most confusing part, is he crashes his car, and then he wakes up next to his crashed car. So it almost seems like everything that just happened was like a dream.
And why... Who is Beth, if there was no Beth?
Either...
Because Beth... When he's talking to the one guy, he knows Beth.
Okay. He saves the woman that's in the church. I don't think the woman in the church is Beth, but I think it's a woman who was captured. So I think Elizabeth, the spirit of Elizabeth, came to him asking for help to save the girl who is still alive.
Okay, gotcha. That makes sense.
That is how I read it.
Okay. So do you have anything on the artist for the last story, Monster Mash?
Yes. The artist for this story, I think is he both the artist and the colorist? I don't think he is. I gotta go back and look. No, he's the...
Well, it says art and color.
So apparently he did some colors, and he also had someone else do some colors.
Zed.
Yes.
And Zed did the cover art for the book.
And he, from what I've seen on his personal website, he has worked on quite a few Godzilla things and quite a few Kong things. So it seems like the comics he's worked on are part of the MonsterVerse, which makes sense because the director of Godzilla King of Monsters was Michael Dougherty.
Okay.
How do you say that? Is that...
I said Dougherty, but
Dougherty.
I don't know. Michael D.
I have no idea.
The writer of Trick or Treat.
Yes. The writer of the movie Trick or Treat. He also helped write the sequel comic series, and obviously the first 4 comics were an adaptation of his story.
Right.
But...
And then it also says colors by Ricardo Rulo.
Yes. And it was hard to tell because there was no pictures or anything, but if Goodreads is correct and it's the same Ricardo Rulo, he did artwork for, or at least colors, for a lot of the Pathfinder books, which Pathfinder is a tabletop role-playing game similar to like D&D.
Okay. I've actually heard of that, surprisingly enough.
Pathfinder or D&D?
Pathfinder. You know I've heard of D&D. So, Monster Mash starts out, we're back with Grandpa and granddaughter.
From the very, if you remember, from the very beginning.
Right. And he asks her if she wants to go trick-or-treating, and she says no, she's still scared. So he tells her another story.
And also, let me just say this. If you're my grandpa and you told me all these stories expecting it to make me feel better about going out, I don't think I'd feel better about going out.
No, not at all. Grandpa, I mean, your grandpa would do something like that. And then be like, here you go trick-or-treating.
Not in a mean way.
No, his grandpa's awesome. Grandma and grandpa both are awesome. So the last story that Grandpa tells, it starts out with a house that's been TP'd. The pumpkins are smashed. They've just done all of this vandalism to this Halloween display, and it's 2 kids.
James and Rory are their names.
Thank you, because I can't say.
I know you can't say Rory.
And we see, I want to, oh, he is the sheriff. So we've got the sheriff and then the priest. And they're not very happy with the boys. And this lady with her gnome, she comes up a couple times throughout. There's a lady in her housecoat standing there with a guard gnome, and she's like, don't forget what they did to my gnomes. And she comes up a couple times in the comic, but...
Does it look like they drew on him?
It looks like they busted out the eyes.
I thought it looks like they busted out one eye, but it also looks like they drew like teeth on him.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay. Because it looks like they TP'd the house.
Yeah. And they obviously, I mean, there's blood on that. Like they wrote on that fence.
Yeah.
And, so we've got the sheriff and the priest, and the priest is talking about how they were supposed to be at a church gathering to keep them out of trouble on Halloween.
And Rory basically doesn't apologize or anything, so he gets smacked in the face by the priest, and we find out the priest is his father.
And I want to throw this out there too, because we've talked about it with the other ones. There is no year on this story.
No, there is not. All the other ones did. This one does not.
Yes.
And the story with, like, the opening story with the grandpa and the granddaughter does not have a year either, but presumably it takes place in 2015 when this comic series came out.
And the two boys, James and his friend, are dressed up like monsters.
Yes. They're almost like, I think it's Chinese masks.
That makes sense. So, like Dawson said, we find out that the father is the dad.
The pastor is the dad.
The priest is
yes.
the father. The priest is the boy's dad.
Yeah, Rory's dad is the father.
Yeah.
You are not the father.
Right. Are we on Maury? Jerry Springer?
Oh. Yeah.
So they're standing outside, and then all of a sudden, all heck breaks loose, and there's werewolves in there.
Well, it's like, first, like, red eyes and teeth appear in the darkness, and James asks Rory if he set it up. And these monsters, like you said, there's werewolves, there's, like, man-bat type creatures. Mm-hmm. Man-bat's a Batman villain that's basically just a giant bat that's somewhat humanoid. Yeah. There's a witch on a broom. Yeah. There's one that looks like, kind of like Nosferatu, like that old, bald, white vampire.
And they've got the priest and the sheriff surrounded.
Yeah. And, James and Rory are kind of on the outskirts.
Oh, and the lady with her gnomes in there, too.
And as the creatures turn towards the two boys, that's a tongue twister, they put their masks back on.
And I want to say, I think the werewolf in the back where the word bubble is at, where it says holy crap, looks like the werewolf girls from the movie.
Oh, yeah?
But it looks like the one from the movie.
Yeah, I'll throw that up in the video, too, so people know what we're talking about. I bet you all the monsters are references to something. Because, I mean, the witch just kind of looks like the Wicked Witch of the West. But even, like I said, the one vampire looks like Nosferatu, but then there's a closer vampire that looks more like a Dracula-inspired vampire. So I wonder if I think there's even a scarecrow in the background. Do you see that?
Oh, yeah. A scary scarecrow.
Mm-hmm. And up in the top left, that's Cthulhu.
Who?
Top left on the Holy Crap page. That's Cthulhu.
With the wings?
With the wings and the tentacle mouth? That's Cthulhu. Have you ever seen the statue of Cthulhu, the picture?
Yes, the statue, but I haven't read the book. Read the story.
Yeah, but the statue, he's got the tentacle face and the wings coming out the back. Huh. That's Cthulhu. Anyway, like I said, the ones turn towards them and they put their masks on, and then when the creatures get close, they kind of sniff them, and I think it's Rory hisses, and they back off. So they decide that they're going to stay and hang out with the monsters for the rest of the night.
But then death shows up.
I was going to say, they see the Grim Reaper.
Grim Reaper, there you go.
Yeah. And it's such a cool depiction of him, because it's, you know, how you see the Grim Reaper, he's got the scythe and everything, but he's got, like, the hood pulled up, like most depictions, but you can only see, like, his bottom jaw and some of his top teeth. Like, everything's in shadow, and it just looks so cool.
You should put that up in the video so they can see it.
And
so the boys scream and run away.
Yeah.
And they fall asleep by this tree. I think they fall asleep.
Mm-hmm.
By this tree, and when they wake up, like, all the creatures are around them having this huge bonfire.
Yeah. And so they end up putting their masks back on, and
well, James wants to leave, right? He's the one that wants to leave?
Yes, James is the one that wants to leave.
And Rory's like, well, why should we leave? Let's be part of this.
They said, because earlier they said that they were just when they vandalized stuff, they said they were just trying to have fun on their last Halloween.
Right.
Because they're getting too old for it. Yeah. And so here he says, and it's better than we ever dreamed of. One last Halloween together. And so James says, I hate you, but puts his mask back on anyway. You know, it's that friend thing where you say, I hate you, but you don't actually mean it. It's just...
I mean, in this one, we see some zombies. There's one that's got, like, a paper chef hat on.
Yeah.
And
there's a headless lady in the bottom panel on this page.
So, the middle panel, what is that creature on the left-hand side?
The Minotaur?
Is that what that is?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just the artwork and all of the detail that went into all these different
Mm-hmm.
people in here is
And
crazy.
I bet you a bunch of them are references to stuff that we're just not getting.
Yeah.
Because so many of them are references that I bet most, if not all of them, are. But then we see that the bonfire is actually lit inside of a giant pumpkin, and we see Sam standing on a stump next to it. And he starts to throw candy into the bonfire.
Yeah.
And
I love it on this page that we have just like the white sheeted ghost. Got all these creatures, and then we've just got the white sheeted ghost flying around.
Which, it also makes me wonder. Well, we'll get to that. So, the creatures are heading to town, so they decide that they're gonna go with them and do what they want to do. So, like, they go past this house that has some kids in it, and they throw candy down because they're riding on the broomsticks with the witches. They're dumping bags of candy out for the kids. We see them riding two pumpkin-headed scarecrows, which kind of remind me of Wizard of Oz. Not the movie, the second book. There's a pumpkin-headed character.
Yeah, it's in the second movie too, and he's freaky.
Return to Oz. I haven't seen that. See,
it's freaky.
Isn't his name just Jack? Because it's like Jack O'Lantern.
So.
Yeah. Anyway, just kind of made me think of that. Or like the pumpkins from Tales of Halloween, or the freaking there's that DreamWorks special that has living pumpkins in it. Monsters vs. Aliens. It's a Halloween special.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, we see them going through a cemetery. They bring like, it's like a pet cemetery. They bring back pets back to life, and
the whole time they're throwing candy.
Yeah. And it's like the candy is causing like the dogs to come back to life and stuff. It's like the candy has special properties. And as the night goes on, Rory realizes, like, James points out that Rory's teeth have gotten sharp. And James is talking about how, like, his hands are turning more into, like, the creature that, like, the costume he's wearing, they're turning more into, like, that kind of hand.
It even shows him, like, taking off one of his gloves, and his hand underneath his glove looks like a werewolf hand, kind of.
And Rory says just go with it.
So then we cut back to the church where everybody's gathered.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we've got Our Lady with her gnome.
Do you think this is the church from the last story?
No.
Because it kind of looks similar. And the part where it would say, what was the name? Saint
Sebastian.
Is covered by a banner here.
But I don't see a cemetery around it. So maybe not.
But sometimes they relocate.
Oh, that's true.
Anyway, it might not be. It's just a church, but I just thought I'd ask. So yeah, they're having like a town meeting, it seems like.
And so then somebody knocks on the door.
And they say not to open it, but he does anyway. I think
they say tweet or tweet.
Mm-hmm. It's a little kid in like a sunflower costume is what it looks like. Yeah, I don't think it's the same church because the window's not the same. I went back and looked.
But it is not a kid dressed as a sunflower costume. It's
a woman that opened the door and she's like, "Oh, are you okay? Are you lost?" And then a vine wraps around her leg, and the little sunflower boy turns into this creature. I don't even know how to describe it.
Well, and he doesn't turn into the creature.
Yeah, it's like
one of the tentacles.
It's
it
like
me of the thing
SpongeBob. Mm-hmm. In the SpongeBob movie, there's the old lady with the ice cream, and it actually turns out that it's like a monster's tongue. It's like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which, again, I wonder if it is a reference to something, because if it's in that and this, maybe it's a reference to something.
Yeah.
And then here we also see the designs in this are just so cool. Like the thing in the back that it looks almost like demonic or something. Do you see what I'm talking about on the right side?
Yeah.
And then there's like an evil clown in the middle.
He looks familiar, but the clown, but I don't know what he's from.
I don't know. There's that one. It's not that movie with the eggs, is it? I don't think so. It could be Killer Clowns.
No, I don't think it's Killer Clowns.
There's a creepy clown in that one movie, but he has like a weird jaw, so it's not him. Or not movie, that one show.
The pointed ears. I don't know. Anyway, Dawson will put that picture up too.
Yeah. So we just kind of see them wreaking havoc in the church and grown-ups running out and everything.
We do see a busted window with Rory and James coming in through that window.
Yes. And we see some giant bats taking the sheriff. And like
that's actually how the boys get in there, is from the giant bats.
And all heck is just breaking loose. And the father sees Rory and says, I always knew there was something wrong with you. And Rory pounces on him. And James is like, Rory, no, you... James is like, Rory, no. And the father is like, calls him a little monster. And Rory says, I'd rather be a monster than a man like you. But right as he's about to kill the father, the clock chimes midnight on the church, and all the monsters leave. And they get outside, and James is like, it's the costumes, Rory, you gotta take it off, otherwise we're gonna transform. And basically, I can't tell if it's already too late for Rory, or if he's just wants to be a monster. I think it might be both.
I think it's too late.
But he says, this is who I am and where I belong. So I almost wonder if it's both.
I just took it as too late. If you look at his face in that panel on the middle page, look at Rory with his mask on, or James with his mask on, compared to how...
Yeah. But I'm just saying, because he specifically says, in where I belong. So I wonder if... I mean, he's abused at home. He got to do whatever he wanted for a night. Maybe get out.
Yeah.
So then we see the Grim Reaper come and take him.
Which he didn't have that long hair at the beginning of the story either.
Yeah.
So...
But the transformation of him is so cool, because it's kind of gradual. Mm-hmm. So you don't notice it as much until things are pointed out. And then at this point, he grows, like, bat wings and flies away. And he's, like, fully monster now. So James is left standing alone. And then do you want to...
And so then we go back to Grandpa and Granddaughter on the stairs, and he convinces her that her friends are coming. She needs to go trick-or-treating.
I will point out this page, we see a kid dressed as a robot. It might just be a kid dressed as a robot, but I wonder if it's a reference to the movie.
Yeah. And there's somebody dressed as an alien, too. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And a witch, which Rhonda was a witch in the movie.
Yeah.
And so we see Grandpa...
And Sam's with them,
we see Grandpa waving them away to go trick-or-treating, and Sam's just standing there looking at Grandpa.
Mm-hmm. And then Grandpa looks up at the moon, and Rory flies by. He flies over the moon, implying that Grandpa was James in the story. And
he lands right next to Grandpa, and says it. And Grandpa says it's been.
I don't think that's him.
Friend.
I think that's just Death. I think that's the Grim Reaper, not him. Because look, if you see him in the sky, he doesn't have a cloak or anything. So I think it's implying he dies here.
Oh. And then the last panel is black and just says Happy Halloween.
So, I don't know how much of a theory it really is, but the whole thing with Sam, presumably, is that the seeds that were brought him over here. But I wonder about that, which I guess, if it came over in the 1600s, it makes sense for the Native Americans to worship him by 1800. But I wonder if he was already over there.
My opinion is he came over with the pumpkin seeds.
Yeah.
Because of the continuity of them mentioning Ireland and
Continuity.
Salem. Whatever. Ireland and Salem and like all through history. Yeah. I think that would be my guess. Which we've talked about this a lot.
Oh.
Like you said, he was the autumn spirit. Like him being kind of a god.
But the theory I have, Rhonda in the movie, I think is literally a witch. I think she's one of... Because if we see all these people in the book that are like devotees of Sam, that like worship Sam and like study him and all this stuff, she's so obsessed with Halloween, and when she sees Sam, you know, she just kind of waves and doesn't, or like dismisses him kind of thing. Like she doesn't really pay much attention to it. I wonder if she is like a witch that knows about Sam. And that'd make more sense why she left those kids to die.
But don't you think, like, of course, we're Christians, so if Jesus was standing in front of us, would you just be like, oh, hey, I'm worshiping you, bye? You know what I mean?
Maybe.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, there's like people in China that there's that verse in Revelation that says and there'll be lightning in the eastern sky. There's like a branch of Christianity in China called Eastern Lightning that believe that Jesus was not the Messiah, or maybe Jesus was the Messiah. I don't remember exactly. I'm not trying to say what I know for a fact their beliefs are, because I don't, and I don't really know much about it. Wendigoon talked about it in his Religion and Cult Iceberg, but they believe that this woman in China is the reborn Jesus, or like the Messiah, and they act as a regular like religion, other than the fact that they have a living Messiah. So I mean, like, even back in the day, like, if you were a follower of Jesus, yes, it's exciting to be around him, but if you're around him all the time, it would just be like my neighbor Jerry.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But that's what I'm saying. Like, if she hadn't been around Sam all that much.
But how do we know she wasn't?
We don't.
That's what I'm saying.
Just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, I feel like she was a devotee to him.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like we really... I mean, maybe the werewolves could be argued are devotees of him in the movie, but we don't really see any that are in the movie, so I just wonder if she is.
Do you think he...
Especially since she flat out wears a witch costume in the movie.
Yeah. Do you think he is, like...
And she carves all those pumpkins. Maybe she was trying to summon Sam.
Do you think she's, like, or that Sam is, like, the bringer of mayhem?
I don't...
Or is he just... Does he just watch?
I don't think he just watches, because remember he attacks Krieg?
Yes, but he only does that because he's not celebrating Halloween.
I know, but I wonder if it's some of both. But I wonder if he himself is just like the embodiment of Halloween. Because every time we see him active, it's on Halloween.
That's true.
It's like, well, remember what you said about the writer? It's like, Santa has, or Christmas has Santa, so Halloween could have Sam.
Right.
Like, he's just the embodiment of everything Halloween.
Right. That's true.
So I wonder if it's just a mixture of both.
And we talked about this before, and I was talking about the movie, but I have always thought that Sam was an alien, but then as we've dug deeper more into it, I don't think he is.
Yeah.
And I only did that because of the way he looks in the movie. But like you said, in the book, he looks more like, or in the book, he looks more like kind of a rotting pumpkin.
Yeah. And it's not that I like one design better. I mean, I do like the book design better because it looks like less vibrant and stuff. But honestly, either way, I would just rather them not reveal his face. I would rather them just keep it masked, because it's that horror of the unknown thing.
Yeah.
Especially, like, you could still include, like, the mask getting ripped and him biting the lollipop without having to completely reveal his face. You could have him get shot and pumpkin guts come out and stuff. Yeah. But I didn't think we needed a face reveal, because the horror of what could be under there is so much more than seeing it.
And we've talked about that a lot, because masks are scary to me. Like, you don't know who is under that mask.
It could just be a little kid. It could just be this insane little kid.
Right. But yeah, so obviously we have different opinions about stories in the book.
Yeah. I hope I clarified some of the points in the third story for you.
You did, and I don't really think it's that I don't like the art style. I said that.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's really that. I just think it's...
I don't think it's your kind of story.
I have a hard time with the darkness, and I don't mean... Obviously, I read horror, I watch horror, but, like... It's just something my brain can't process very easily with all the different... Well, I don't know how to explain it.
I think what helps me understand stuff like that is I've read a lot of stuff like I've read some adaptations of some of Cthulhu's works that are or Lovecraft's works that are in like a graphic novel format, and I've read like I even feel like Hellblazer gets into it sometimes. I've read stuff where, or like even Seekers into the Mystery, where there's, I guess a good word for it, trippy stuff.
Yeah.
Where it's like hallucinations and visions and stuff like that. I've read a lot of comics that incorporate those elements, so for me it was easier to go in and pick them out than I think it was for you. And, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, the car thing was confusing to me at first until like looked back at it and was like,
yeah,
it's the original car wreck,
right,
which makes sense because what would he fear more than the fact he killed his wife and son?
right. And see, I think that's why this compared to a book, like in a book, if it's a dream, it's usually italicized, or if it's a
Yeah.
flashback, they separate that out. And I think I told you I'm reading a book right now that I can't keep the timeline straight. Like I have
Yeah.
no idea who's where, what's going on when, and I don't even think I'm gonna finish the book because I just can't. So I
Yeah.
think that is what turned me off from that story.
Well,
But you explaining it to me, it's a really good segue from. I love how they did from the 1600s
yeah.
through current day. Like how did we get to where we are
Yeah.
in the movie or the first four
And
stories?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's stuff you could do. I don't know how much more you could do in a modern day setting with Sam. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
feel like those 4 stories were so good. I think a prequel was a good direction to take
They're
it.
actually saying that there's a sequel in talks for the movie.
That would be cool.
But I wonder, like, was there a reason he was in that town? Was it because of Krieg and everything that had happened? Was
I don't
it?
know. It could have been he was following the werewolves because they said they move around.
Yeah.
And we didn't really see. We saw the werewolves and we saw the kids. It does make me wonder if things happen around him.
Yeah.
But it almost makes me wonder if
Like,
maybe
if
the
he-
witches are his devotees and he goes around with them because we see him basically being worshipped by the monsters in the book in that last story. So it makes me wonder if things like the kids coming out of the water and stuff would not have happened if he wasn't in town.
That's what I was going to say.
Because there were
maybe...
so many years without Krieg being attacked,
Right.
and it just so happens to be the night that Sam's there that those
Right.
kids come
And
back.
that's what I was going to say. Maybe he picks a place and maybe that's where the werewolves end up and, like, all of this stuff happens. So
maybe there's more than one Sam. Because we see he came from a seed. It's just a pumpkin thing.
and
So maybe
more than one seed, right?
yeah.
And then the pumpkins
And we see the men turn into pumpkins.
Right.
How do we know all those didn't stand up and become new Sams? Maybe there's more than one. Maybe
That's
Sam
true.
is not one entity.
That's true. Good thinking.
I like the idea of him just being one entity.
Yeah.
But again, it could be something where they call him the Great Autumn Spirit in the Native American one. What if he is a god? What if he is an omniscient god that can be everywhere at once? So maybe he is in every town on Halloween. But
I like to think there's just one, and so like wherever he goes,
chaos happens.
Yeah, like mayhem was the word I was going to use.
And that's what I like too. But I was just throwing out ideas basically. But
or maybe maybe he knew, like maybe there's because Craig didn't celebrate Halloween. Maybe he knows like these kids are going to play this trick on her, and so that's part of the reason he was there. Or if she's a devotee, like you were saying, he was there to kind of protect her because he knew this was going to happen.
It could also be like, I mean, similar to what you said, it could be like he goes to where there's the most chaos.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times he does just watch. Like he does interact with Krieg, but for the most part, and he kills the woman who blows her jack-o'-lantern out too early. But my thing is, I wonder about that because they say it protects you from evil spirits, but he put all those jack-o'-lanterns in Krieg's yard before attacking him. So I wonder if he's not even affected by the jack-o'-lanterns. He was just mad it got blown out. You know what I mean? Like that has to be what it is.
And that's one thing in some of the research I was looking at was that if you don't have the Halloween spirit, so like she didn't have the Halloween spirit, and she showed it by blowing the jack-o'-lantern out. He didn't have the Halloween spirit because he didn't have anything. You know, he wasn't giving out candy. It wasn't decorating. He was scaring kids. So Sam kind of reacted to that, is what I read. But I didn't know what to expect when you got me this book. I didn't know how they could take this story and make it better. But I really like all the history aspects of it.
I hope I made you feel better about story 3 because I know you really were not excited about it.
You did. I just didn't understand a lot of it, and I'm not a stupid person.
Oh, I don't think you are at all.
I just didn't understand.
You're not used to this format.
Yeah. I think if I had to pick my favorite out of the last 4, probably Corn Maiden, just because of the way he used the colors so much. Even the reds, they're different. Like,
well, yeah, because there's the reds and the pinks, and there was even like the orange in the one flashback.
yeah, but there's red when the Native Americans
Yeah.
get murdered, and then there's the red when she's angry, and they're different reds. But all of that emotion shows through, so I think that would probably be my favorite. What would be your favorite?
The last two, like I said.
Yeah.
I really liked all 4 stories. I do think Seed was probably the weakest because it didn't feel that horror. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
but
it was
a good
more
base story.
It was a good story and it was a good explanation for how the seed gets over here. I'm just saying it wasn't very much horror.
Yeah.
I mean, they burn at the end, but like it's not.
I mean, they were mean to her and abused her, and you know.
Yeah, but it wasn't. I don't know. It just didn't. It didn't give me chills.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the other stories didn't either, but they just felt more. I don't know.
Well, I do have to say that the Corn Maiden one, when the spirits are watching her.
Yeah.
At the end, that was pretty powerful.
Yeah. Well, and I even think that the whole drunk driving thing, if you understand what's happening, is pretty tragic.
Laugh at me?
I'm not laughing at you. You know what?
This is why I like doing this, though, because you can explain things to me that
Yeah.
I don't get, and hopefully one day I can explain something to you that...
Yeah, and the back and forth is really good, and us having minds that work different ways, I theorize a lot, you kind of just study things, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you just kind of, you notice things I don't notice, and then I make up theories and stuff. We play well off of each other.
Yeah, I like that, though. I like to catch... Like, when we talked about the movie, his
Yeah.
class ring. You know, sitting down to watch a movie or read a book or like, I've read this book before, but it's a completely different process when you're doing it to
Yeah.
analyze it and talk to somebody about it. So, I love that we're doing this together.
Yeah.
So, next week is our last week of October, and we have not quite nailed down our anthology movie for that one. We are looking at one that was done by an independent company that includes, what's his name?
I don't remember. A guy that was big in Trauma, which if you don't know what Trauma is, they are they're the people who made the Toxic Avenger.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they made a bunch of other movies too, but one of their things is they had a lot of really good practical effects. That is kind of what they're known for. So I'm hoping this movie has a lot of good practical effects, but we have not seen it yet.
Yes. And when you say Toxic Avenger, you mean the new one. Like the 2020.
Both.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I thought it was just the new
Trauma
one.
is the one that did the original one. I don't know if Trauma did the new one.
I thought
but
they said he was involved in it.
They said he worked on the new one,
Okay.
but I don't know if that means Trauma was involved. I don't even know if Trauma still exists as its own thing.
If we don't do that, we will be doing one more anthology for October. But let us know what you think.
Let me say that one is called Graveyard Stories. We may end up doing it. If not, we'll let you know.
Yep, and we will see you next time.